The actual homework is for the parents, no? You have to recreate your identity. You're no more your child's provider of morals if parents have not realized that. The millennials are capable, they're great problem solvers. You cut the internet, they know what else to do. It's just that you don't want to acknowledge that your child is so smart. Perhaps smarter than you and your spouse put together.
What was running in my head certainly is of the effect of the pandemic on young people, schoolgoers, particularly the younger ones who, I recall in my house, like my nephew, 10 years old, then about 7 to 8, all of a sudden has no friends to play with because the school is cut, the playground is cut out of his system. And after a few days, the schools figured out that there's something called online schooling. And even those parents who thought they had kept their children away from the screen now had to deal with this constant presence. I also remember feeling really kind of concerned about parents who could not even afford cell phones. People in so many districts of India, so many poor socio-economic conditions, and they also had to spare their phone or at least buy one because it's the only way your child could have any access to education. But the downside is that addiction to screen and the parent who felt so helpless that now I don't know whether my child is doing her homework or whether she is watching something that I don't want her to see. How do you wean your teen away from the screen?
When you grew up, there was no Facebook, there was no WhatsApp, and you have no idea what it is, that your children are going through. You look at a youngster and you imagine that this person has no world exposure and is not ready to fit into the adult world. And to put it mildly, we just think that young children don't know anything. That is the parents' biggest fear. What would a 10-year-old know? It can come with a very factual kind of an underlining, or it can come from an emotional underlining. What do you know how much I have suffered in my life? Or what do you know? There's so much of danger outside in the world and it's my duty to protect you. And worst case scenario, very embarrassing, God forbid, in my circle, if parents come and boast and tell me like, oh, my child, is very disciplined, and you're kind of, stuck. But the honest fact is this: for the last 2 years, especially after the pandemic, parents are all equalized now. Your child also is on the phone, my child is also on the phone, I'm on the phone, you're also on the phone. And you need to understand that, we have to do a little bit of unlearning because you imagine that phone is equal to, if it is in a teenager's hand, non-productive.
Right.
But if it is in an elder's hand, if it is in an adult's hand, it is very productive. And what is my parameter of measurement? Because I know. I'm older, no? I have life experience. What do you know? You're just 13. All you know is to just dance for BTS music. Right? Ask them about BTS music and you will see how much of an information they have. You do not understand, the power of the millennial generation. And I feel sometimes I look at the child and I feel, the child is actually the parent of the parents.
That's a really good observation. Because sometimes we appropriate to ourselves as the elders or the adults that we know the world so much better. But then it's also true, Sunita, that the exposure of the child to, let's say, porn or to bullying or to things like these, which you feel at least instinctively that your child should not be exposed to, is coming with that territory.
Yes. And right now, as we are speaking, Vasanti, there is a child who is unborn child who is socializing on Facebook because the mother has taken a picture of the ultrasound or a video of the ultrasound and posted on it, and there are likes. And this is a child, it's a human being there. Even before the child is born, it's socializing with the world. Right?
That's starting early.
That is starting very early.
Digital life.
Yes. We need to call something as a problem only if we are outside of it. Then there is a solution. When it comes to screen time, when it comes to digital addiction, right? How much are we outside of the entire problem.
Okay.
The same child grows up and becomes 25 years old, and let's say, gets a job in Facebook. All of us are so proud. Wow,
With
my son,
earning, getting the money.
Yeah, my son is working in Facebook. The same Facebook which you've been beating black and blue and saying, doing so much of harm in personal life and everything. So we are part of the problem because there is a sense of hypocrisy. And all this boils down to the fact that we believe that adults know better than children. Who said that? Adults said that. Right? You want to teach a child today how to eat, but a 2-year-old learns how to use YouTube, knows how to swap, and tomorrow when it learns, all that it needs to learn is the sequence of 24 letters.
Right.
That's all. I type what I need to search. How do I feed myself? Right? So we are dealing with insecurity of parents on one side, and then we're also dealing with children who will not have boundaries.
There's a parent who's written in. So she is from Kuwait. Her name is Preeti Vijay Kumar, and she speaks about her child who has ADHD. Let's just listen in.
Like both my children, I raised them to be readers, and they used to enjoy books. They were introduced to books first rather than the screens, and both of them are voracious readers. But what I've seen is once you start getting exposed to what is on screen, whether it's YouTube, whether it's Netflix, even the lure of books is not enough. Their world exists on social media, on this screen. Their friends, none of my daughter's friends stay close to our house. Her socializing with her friends outside school only happens on Instagram or Snapchat or Discord. So their world exists on that. The only practical thing we can do as parent is to limit it, to ration the time that we give. Like during exam times, we say it's okay, only this much. And that has to be done early on. Again, one more thing which I'm struggling is you can't do it after they are a certain age. Then when we pull it back, it is like drug withdrawal, It is like those withdrawal symptoms. They become so aggressive. So that's what, in fact, I had to see a couple of therapists, counselors, and my son, he has ADHD. He has a severe case of ADHD. So during the pandemic, it was mild, I think, but during the pandemic, the dependence on the screen, the time they spend on social media, it has only increased the ADHD. So what the therapist keeps on telling me is you should have done this much earlier, not at a stage when he's 16 or 17. You can't pull it back now. The damage is done.
Or what would you tell this parent who's really so apprehensive and worried for the child's future?
What I would like to highlight here is there is no one size fits all. Anything that is to do with mental illnesses. ADHD is a disorder. It's not a disease. Okay. How are we so sure that the ADHD is connected to digital addiction in her own child?
Let's not blame the screen for everything. Let's not blame that exposure, you're saying.
Yes, because the actual homework is for the parents, no? You have to recreate your identity. You're no more your child's provider of morals if parents have not realized that. Your child has access to the internet, but today you need the internet to pay the bills. So if I'm going to give you rule number 1, set timings, Vasanti. You can use your screen time only for this. The millennials are capable. They're great problem solvers. You cut the internet, they know what else to do. It's just that you don't want to acknowledge that your child is so smart. Perhaps smarter than you and your spouse put together.
They are, but it's also that, it would be seen as my failure as a parent to not be able to curb that screen time, which is why in some houses they have...
In whose eyes? If you are choosing to be an ideal parent in the life of this society, in the eyes of your collective, right, then you are failing your child somewhere. Who are the children who come to counseling? My parents don't understand me. They say that because, parents are forcing me to fit into a standard that they believe is good, and I personally may not believe it's good. I might not have the answers. I might not have the results, but they're not even patient in helping me figure it out. And that helplessness is very, very genuine.
We have the segment called Headstrong. Give us that tip or probably that mental workout.
Of course.
What is therefore a good path, given that you would like probably your child to go in for reading. You know how these things are said, right? Like saying that, okay, if I curb my child's digital time, then I can inculcate or encourage this child to read, also to go and meet actual social contacts in the real world, spend time with grandparents, family, real people. So isn't that really a valid reason for dealing with this and actually making non-screen time?
This is how I'm looking at it. One, we need to, every day, it's not once through one podcast or one video, but every day we need to remind ourselves that the future belongs to the young people, our children. Internet is a part of their life. We have missed that bus. That train is gone, where, you can limit the screen time and all these things. And, the children have outsmarted us. And here we are, in a very different world. The first part is to understand that I might not be the person that my son or daughter will turn for information or guidance. I might not be the first, one or two people. But to just take a step back, even if there are 100 things that are falling apart, your child just needs that one reason to connect back to you. And that is, if your child feels that you are emotionally available. Physical availability is only until they're the age of 13. But if the child somewhere has learned that I have emotionally available adults, 2 of them with me, you have, more than 70% chances to be part of their decision making.
In other words, it's not internet connection, but interpersonal connection.
Absolutely.
All right. I think hopefully this episode has given thoughts, if not, concrete answers to those who are dealing with this very real situation as they have articulated to us.
Oh, yes.
Thank you, Sunita.
Oh, yes.
Great for us to have done this show.
Pleasure.
Thank you for watching this episode of the Emotional First Aid Show. If you like what you heard, do subscribe and write in with your comments and suggestions. Thanks again for watching.